everybody, it's Flock of Nerds here, Flock Talk, Episode 1. I'm Myles, and I'm joined with...
Kathryn.
And...
Chris.
And today we're going to be talking about the NES Classic Console, as well as the Wii U, a bunch of other topics. It should be a good time.
Before we start, maybe we should talk a little bit about Chris. People probably know Myles and I just from the YouTube channel because it's our Let's Play channel and we do like pickup videos and event coverage. But Chris is sort of like our behind the scenes guy for the website, which we haven't put a lot of effort into for the last little while. But let's let Chris talk about his involvement with Flock of Nerds.
Yeah, so I used to write board game reviews for Flock of Nerds. I got a little bit burned out last year, and so I stopped doing them. But I continue to exist. I am in the world. I continue to play games. I continue to play board games and video games, chasing the dragon of good games in whatever form they may be, long, short, whatever.
So before we get to the main topic, we got some hot topics that we want to cover. Some things that have been going on with our lives in the last month or so. Kathryn, I've seen you play a lot of this game on the PC.
I started playing it again. So before,
what game is it?
It's Stardew Valley, and I played it before for a long time, and then I sort of took a little break, and I'm just got back into it again. And Chris, I don't think you know anything about it. It's like Harvest Moon. That's what I'm told. I've never played any Harvest Moon game, but it is like a farming life simulator type game.
Oh yeah, those generally I try to stay away from, but...
Really?
They just look like they suck. They suck your time. No, sorry, I didn't mean that. They suck. But it looks like... I just feel like I could get lost in a game like that. It reminds me a little bit of Farmville.
Okay, but then I've seen you play like 8 hours of Wario Woods.
So there you go.
That's just an addiction. That's just a problem that I have.
And there's nothing to that. It's just a puzzle game. Whereas this one, it's like, I'm doing things. You played WoW, right, Chris? Right?
Yes.
You were a WoW player. So
what is Stardew Valley for people who don't know it? For people who don't know the farming genre? Explain this to me as if I am a complete idiot. Well,
Stardew Valley starts off... It is just a farming simulator. You literally just own a farm. But you actually, the story-wise, you are from the city. It starts off with you in your little cubicle at your job, and you hate it. And your grandfather dies, luckily, I guess. I don't know. But you inherit his farm. And you sort of make this decision to leave city life behind and give the old farm life a try. So I named my farm Cupcake Farm. And I moved, and I just started farming. You have to learn how to do everything. You have to learn how to till the soil, and you start with like, you have to water your crops. You have to meet the townspeople. You have to make friends, buy seeds. You have to earn a lot of money to like grow your farm and build your house bigger and build, like, if you want to get cows or chickens, you have to build a coop or you have to build a barn. And it takes a lot of money and a lot of time.
But you're not playing with other people, right?
No.
You're just playing by yourself?
You know, it's not online. So all the townspeople are NPCs. And you actually build, like, part of the game is building relationships with every single person you meet. You do it actually by giving gifts. You know, you buy friendship in this game.
Just like in real life. That's fair.
Just like when you send all of your friends gifts constantly.
You sounded a little sour about that. Are you saying you want more gifts?
I don't get nearly enough gifts in the
Do
mail.
Do you resent that we
friends.
insist that you buy us gifts every time we see you? Is that something that bothers you? It's just how I learned. Because I play Stardew Valley, I've come to expect this from my friends.
But that's how you court people, right? You buy them gifts?
Yeah, you actually buy gifts, you give gifts to people. There's actually a calendar you can access. And so instead of like months, they just have the 4 seasons, and there's 28 days per season, and every character has a birthday on that calendar. So if you give them a present on their birthday, it accelerates the heart meter. If you hit 10 hearts, then you can actually decide to court certain characters are listed as single, and then if they're single, then you can give them a bouquet, and it unlocks the last 2 hearts that you need to make it like an actual romantic relationship. Oh. And the cool thing about
romance.
But the cool thing is something fun. Like the cool thing about it though is that it's not based on gender or anything, right? They do allow for same-sex relationships, which is one of the things that's like been like really touted about the game, is that it is very open and liberal in this sense. And the game is actually, you can poo-poo it all you want, but it just won a golden joystick for best indie game, and it is up for best indie game at the Game Awards for 2016. So, and it probably has a really good shot at winning. It's going to be up against games like Firewatch, and I'm not sure what else is up against it.
How well does it portray the horrors of factory farming?
So, like, KFC's involved in what way?
This is all organic, okay?
You can't make your farm into
no.
horrifying post-apocalyptic. Like,
why would you want
dystopia.
to do that? This is supposed to be
the beakless chicken.
Guys, this is awful. No, you have your chicken coop. You can get rabbits, goats, sheep, pigs. Pigs provide truffles. And you actually, there's also a heart meter for your animals. So you actually pet them every day.
Oh!
No, not. But it just gets them to produce like better produce for you, better eggs, better milk.
But at the beginning, you said that you hate your job, and then your grandfather dies, and you inherit the farm. Does that mean, though, that there is a part of this world, this Stardew world, that is a horrifying terror landscape where everyone's just sitting at a desk typing away until their grandfathers die?
I'm pretty sure it was like a big company, like, and it was a whole bunch of cubicles. It was so long ago that I started the game that I actually can't remember the detail, because it's so brief. It's very, very brief that you're in there and you get this letter.
Were you working at Monsanto? And so then you start a farm and you say, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to finally take the leap and I'm going to like not do the factory farming thing. And all of my life is going to be organic from now on.
Listen, Chris, it's just a simple little indie farming game, okay? I live in this city, I inherit a farm, I go to the country, I buy this farm, or like I take over the farm, and I give it a real, I go give it the old college try. And all I want to do is just like make a successful farm that allows me to stay and live in this town. I'm married. I married this Sebastian, who is like this super emo guy. Like, he just wears all black, and every time I talk to him, he'd be like standing in the rain, and if it's not raining, he's always like, I wish it were raining, because I like standing outside in the rain because no one's outside, I'm by myself. And he has like a lot of like country ennui. Like, it sounds like he like rides a motorcycle and he just wants to go to the city. But I don't know why, I chose him just because he was like so mopey, and I'm like, oh, this will be fun, like try to cheer him up.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
There are other farming simulators, there are other games out there that let you simulate what a job is like. Why should people get this one? Why is this something they should explore? I think there's like there's a trend in new indie games that have a retro feel to them. Like, we loved and played Rogue Legacy, and that's very much a callback to like old 8-bit roguelikes or whatever. And this is also a callback to, I never played Harvest Moon, but from what I read about Stardew Valley, it really is like a love letter to Harvest Moon. And I read a little bit about the creator. I think the company's called Chucklefish, and I think it's just one guy, but he was very, very particular about this game because he loved Harvest Moon, but there were little things about it that he didn't like, that he wanted to improve upon and include it all. And it was really hard for him to actually release the game because he was like, I wanted to have everything in it. But eventually he was like, okay, I'll put it out in the world and let people play and see what they think about it. And it got really, really good response. And every like live streamer and everything like that, they were all playing Stardew Valley. It's really cute. It's very sweet, and there's something for everyone. Like, if you played WoW, it's got like
mining and fishing and stuff like that. And then it's got the quests, right? Every few days you can get quests from different townspeople to like bring them ore or bring them flowers and stuff like that. And then there is an actual overarching story and lots of like little, I don't want to give anything away. I think everyone should play it. So there's lots of little things that keep you interested in playing the game over and over and over again and getting through a year. So anyway, just play Stardew Valley. Trust me, it's good.
That's so interesting that you say that you can play it over and over and over again, because I'm in a situation right now in my life where I find myself playing the same game for like 200 hours. It's Overwatch.
Yes.
And you know, I've got a lot of games on these shelves here that I really want to get to. I really want to get through a lot of games.
It feels like you have like two parts of the same hobby. One is just play Overwatch, and the other one is amass games.
So what I want to do is create a challenge for myself. We do this podcast monthly. So in 12 podcasts, 1 year, I want to be able to have finished 30 video games.
Oh.
Only 10 of these games can be less than 2 hours. The rest have to be longer, fuller games.
That's a pretty serious challenge.
I mean, I heard a lot of people doing challenges like this with 52 games. Now, I don't finish a lot of games, so I'm going to
I think 30 is going to be challenging.
I do think 30 is going to be challenging. And then this way, I get to be a little bit more ambitious with my games, so I can play, like, games something like maybe Bloodborne or something. And
just take 2 weeks and finish up Bloodborne.
2 weeks, maybe a good 6-hour day.
And you've never played something in the Demon Souls, Dark Souls.
No, I see that. Right? I'm just overwhelmed just thinking about it.
Like, do you have to finish Demon Souls? Like, if you start it and you want it to be part...
Yes.
Well, what if you physically cannot? What if you are skilled?
Then that will not count as one of my 30 games.
At what point do you give up? Like, what point?
Well, that'll be up to me.
So, what are other games that you're thinking of doing? Playing through?
One of the games has got to be Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You know, like, I love that game. It's one of my favorite games, one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. And I never beat Mike Tyson. I get in the ring with him, 15 seconds later, I'm lying on my back.
You mean actual Mike Tyson, like the one that has Mike Tyson?
Yeah, because there's a couple Punch-Outs. This is the one, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, where they nailed the likeness so well. And he's got that gap between his teeth, and I want to knock Mike Tyson out. I feel like he's old enough now.
I feel like you've got a shot. Like, he's old enough. He's life has beat him up.
He doesn't age
definitely.
in the game, Chris.
But have you seen that video of him on the Segway and he topples over?
Oh, really? There's a video of that?
Yeah.
That's sad.
He doesn't age in the game.
Oh, it's a hoverboard, not a Segway, sorry.
Now I feel psychologically capable of taking him on. Now he's not the monolith.
Yeah. You see him with that face tattoo and you go, you know what? You are way less menacing now that you were just some face tattooed guy who was in The Hangover.
I also think that it's likely that you'll be able to finish it because in the last year people have beaten it blindfolded and stuff.
Exactly,
right?
and I've seen that, and now I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? I can't beat him without the blindfold.
And you do have access.
Blindfold.
You have access to like the videos and stuff to like see any kind of tips and tricks. Like that guy definitely was using some kind of cue, right, to know. And like there's just a way to math it, right, to like map it all out and figure out how to beat him. I mean, maybe that's not fun though. Like maybe it's better to just go in and try to beat it on your own, and then if you get stuck.
And another game was Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is a game that was always a huge challenge for me when I was a kid, and now that I think that we have access to it with save states, I'll be able to get in there and maybe finish it.
Do you think that finishing games that didn't necessarily have save states before with save states now is 100% legitimate, or is it cheating? What do you think?
Well, I definitely think it's legit if games have passwords, right? Because if a game has a password, it's just me not writing down the password and instead using a save state. It's just saving some time.
Right. There were passwords, like I had sheets and sheets of paper of the various different kinds of passwords that I would need.
Have you seen the passwords for River City Ransom? They're like a paragraph long with no spaces. They're like 5 lines, like at least 10 digits a line.
Yeah, and the same with something like Metroid, like 2 lines of just dashes and stars, and sometimes you wouldn't get the dash right.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of other games that I totally want to try, a lot of RPGs that I never played because I was overwhelmed. And by keeping it smaller down to 30 games, I feel like I can really be ambitious and pick up maybe a Final Fantasy VII, maybe Final Fantasy II, maybe a Chrono Trigger, and maybe give those a run.
Yeah. Do you have any of the Elder Scrolls in mind as well?
No, absolutely not.
Those are way too
no
big.
Elder Scrolls too big.
It's a 40-hour game.
I'm gonna kibosh any Bethesda right off the bat.
Aw, see, that's really too bad.
I just don't like it. I've tried Fallout 4. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of Bethesda. It's okay. I understand that they're good games. I understand a lot of people like them. Not my jam.
I think you can accelerate through a story mode, though, to get through the story of Fallout 4
I'm
pretty
just
quickly.
I'm just walking around, and I'm like, this is taking me way too long.
You just don't accept all the side quests, and you don't start a little colony, and you just move on.
Yeah, the colony making. That's part of the reason I didn't get very far into Fallout 4 is because they had all that colony making, and I felt guilty for not exploring the colony making.
And going back and helping them, defend it and stuff like that.
Ugh.
I played way more Fallout than Myles did, so... Fallout 4, anyway. That's the only one we've played.
And it gives you a chance, this 30 games in a year, it gives you a chance to finally play through the Zelda games. Finally.
Oh, I don't know. Should I? Did they make any good ones?
I think there's a lot of this is also a really good opportunity for sure, like you're saying, to cross off a lot of these games off of our list of we did that video of games we're ashamed to say we haven't played yet,
and it was all of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of series that we've just not even touched. You've never played a Metroid.
Yeah.
You've never played a Mega Man or Zelda, or let's go over them all again.
A Link to the Past will 100% be on the list.
Oh, that's good. A Link to the Past is really good. Let me tell you a secret. A Link to the Past is really good. And
yeah, it's just the best game ever made on everybody's list.
Yeah.
Really unknown secret, a hidden gem, if you will.
Let's ask you what you think. Do you think Zelda needs to be played in a particular order?
No, because I didn't necessarily play it in a particular order,
okay.
So I never played A Link to the Past. I didn't have a Super Nintendo, so I never played through Link to the Past. I just played Ocarina of Time. And I think you could probably just play Ocarina of Time, but if you really want to play what some people consider to be the best Zelda, Link to the Past, go ahead. There's a bit of overlap between the two games that may not... they're both amazing games, so it's hard to say play one over the other.
Have you have since played Link to the Past, or no?
Yes.
Oh, you have since played. On
yes.
What system did you play for? DS?
I played it on an emulator.
Oh, that's okay.
So, maybe not didn't necessarily pay to play Link to the Past. Here's the thing. I had been waiting for Link to the Past on the virtual consoles. And they didn't release it. And then when they released it on the DS, you had to have the 3DS XX whatever. And I didn't have that one, and I didn't want to buy a whole new 3DS. So I was like, no, you're not releasing it properly. I'm going to just play it.
You justify it however you want, Chris. That's okay.
So something else you didn't pay for and is available on YouTube for everybody to see is a TV show called The Genius that you recommended to us and we love. Can you tell us a little bit about The Genius, Chris?
Sure. So in completely non-video game relating stuff, I have been watching The Genius. Finished the first season of The Genius. You can find it on YouTube. It is a Korean reality TV show, and it's not like I'm normally always watching Korean reality TV shows, but I saw the recommendation on a website called Shut Up and Sit Down, which is a great website for board game reviews, and I took the recommendation, turned on YouTube, loaded it up. It is probably the best reality TV show I've seen in a really long time. I don't necessarily go in for reality TV all the time, but this one...
It's a reality competition show, right?
Sure.
And you described it to us. You just kind of gave us the basic idea of what it was. And we were like, shut up, Chris. Don't say anything else. We're going to go home and watch it. And then we did. And we couldn't stop watching it because it's just great. And we do watch reality. That's the one thing Myles and I watch a lot of is reality competition shows. But not like Big Brother. We're more like Amazing Race and
Survivor.
And skill-based ones like the Face Off and the not the tattoo.
Skin Wars,
which is body painting and stuff.
Yeah. So what the genius is they take 13 celebrity contestants in Korea, and these can be from all over the landscape of Korean celebrity. There is a StarCraft player. There's just, I guess, a smart guy. There's a guy who plays cards and Go. There's a billiards player. There's just K-pop stars. And they put them all into the same room, and then they make them play a game against each other for these things called garnets. The garnets are each worth 1,000 Canadian dollars-ish, and they're playing for them, but they can also use them in between games or in the games to buy extra items, to buy people's favors. They take these 13 people and they make them play a relatively simple strategy game that has a ton of negotiations in it, and they let them play it for an hour, whereas if you played one of these simple games at home, you would play it over the course of maybe 10 minutes, and then you'd be like, oh, that was an okay game, okay, we're done with that. But when you let these people play these games for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you find that the negotiation really gets into the meta game of things. They're able to negotiate over long periods of time, and then whoever wins that game gets to give someone else an immunity, and whoever comes in last gets to play a deathmatch against a player of their choice, however well they did. If they don't have immunity, then they have to play against them in this deathmatch. Yeah,
everyone's eligible to be chosen unless you have that little life token.
Or unless you had made negotiations prior. And just an example of one of these super easy to understand games, the first game they play on the show is the 1-2-3 game, where everybody gets 9 cards, and they get 3 1s, 3 2s, and 3 3s. They go up to a dealer, and they both reveal one card. They choose a card in secrecy and reveal a card against somebody else. If you have a 3, you can beat a 2 or a 1. If you have a 2, you can beat a 1, lose to a 3. And if you have a 1, you lose to a 2 or a 3, or you tie if you have a 1.
You know what that game is? It's
War.
No, but that game is the Domino's pizza game.
Oh yeah, from Yonoid. If you want to check out our Yonoid video,
that's what.
Nice plug, Kathryn.
No, I wasn't plugging us. I'm just saying, that's how simple the game is.
Yeah, the game is basic.
It's
right.
Just in
and when you hear about that basic game, you think, oh, this game's going to be over in 5 minutes. Everyone's just going to play their 3s against their 1s, whatever. But then when you watch them think about what other people are going to do and trying to outsmart other people and how do I get the maximum amount of things, you realize that what this really is people having to play against each other.
Yeah.
It really has nothing to do with this game.
And there's so much collusion. It's all about the collusion. Yeah. So, making agreements and being able to just, decide, hey, you know what? Instead of me having these set cards, I'm going to give you all my 1s. You give me all your 3s. And I'm going to be the winner, and we'll make sure that you're safe, right?
Yeah. And I don't even think that's a spoiler, because that's the most basic level of strategy in the game. And then it just takes off from there.
And another thing, the reason why this show is so addictive and compelling is because of the way the show is edited and shown to us. They don't just show you everything that happens in chronological order. What they'll do is they'll give you a taste of what the game's about. Maybe they'll jump ahead and show you the outcome, but without a frame of reference you don't understand. You just see someone crying, or you see somebody struggling to make it to the end of a challenge, someone who you thought was going to be safe. They'll tell you then 2 hours earlier, and now it is up to you, the viewer, to piece that together and to figure out how they're going to get from the place that you're watching them to this place later on in the competition. So it's making you be an active viewer, an active audience, as opposed to just lecturing you and showing you something like in Survivor, which I love, but they don't hold anything back. They just show you as it's happening.
Right. The jumping around in time makes it a more watchable show, I think, than some of the other reality television shows I've watched, because you don't know how you got there, one guy looks like he's not doing anything, or one woman looks like she's not doing anything the whole game, and then it turns out that she was the one that changed the whole game earlier on, but they didn't show you that.
Yeah, that's something you don't see here at all, right? Like, it is just like a really ingenious way to present this information, right? Because, like Myles says, it does change the whole viewing experience. And we're just not accustomed to it here. We're spoon-fed everything, right? Like, a blindside on Survivor is not a blindside for the viewer, because we know it's always a possibility, because they show
Who got the idol?
They show people talking about it, though, too, right? Like, so you always know what the potential outcome is. Whereas in this show, you have no clue, right? Like, you really think, oh, this is a really strong player, but then a lot of people also, and that's actually one of the things about the show, is that it's aired weekly and recorded weekly. So when they air an episode, the contestants see it before they arrive the next time. So they actually see everything that the television show shows, or the producers decide to show on television. So they actually see all of the deals and things happening behind their back, and you know, that means that alliances you have that you thought were like really, really strong alliances weren't alliances at all, right? It's someone's working two sides, and it's all exposed.
Or they're super easy to break up an alliance, because you see that happen. It's like, oh, those two are going to be together, right? And so people have to reformat their strategies every episode after the episode airs and the other contestants see it.
I don't know why more North American reality TV doesn't do this. Like, why is there such an emphasis on, like,
recording everything all at once?
And the secrecy behind keeping, like, we have to keep it secret. We have to record it 3 months in advance because we need to put this Frankenstein's monster together.
Because, you know what, they just fear the lack of control, right? If they do this week to week, they don't know what the next episode's going to be, right? And they want you to think a certain way, and they want to control the way that the viewer understands the contestants and understands the competition, and they want to control the way that people, interact with the product placement that they put in the show. And sorry, it's just me getting jaded now all of a sudden. But
no, but also, not just to play a devil's advocate here for a moment, the way North American reality TV also works allows them to keep the drama up for every single episode. Whereas, not to be too much of a spoiler here, so if you don't want to hear this for the next 20 seconds here, I'm going to say something about the end of The Genius. But it loses steam a bit. I don't know if that's necessarily a spoiler, but it loses steam a bit.
I don't know.
In the last few
episodes. I felt like the third and fourth last episode, do you know what I mean? Like, 3 and 4 episodes before it gets to the end. I think those are two of the best episodes in the entire game.
Yeah, I guess. Well, but I mean, I don't think it's their fault necessarily, just because there's just fewer people, right? So the games switch, the type of games, there's less collusion allowed, and it just becomes like everyone for themselves. I mean, it happens on games like Survivor or whatever, but on the Genius, that dynamic of knowing everyone's play style because you see it or whatever, it like, when that starts to wane, you're just left with like fewer and fewer people that you know stuff about, and then it just becomes, okay, well, now I have to win for me. I can't try to get rid of people. I'm just relying on myself. Like Survivor, all the way to the end, it's alliances, right? And it's who you trust to take to the end. Whereas the Genius game eventually just turns into just a competition, right? And it's the best person wins. That's what happens.
Although the show does a pretty good job of keeping within the spirit of what the game has been about, by doing some out-of-the-box things at the end of the game to make it spicy. But that was the first season. It's all available on YouTube. And I feel like the first season is just a stepping stone for the second season, because they really amp it up in the second season. like the 1-2-3 game that I explained earlier, that was the first game of the first season. First game in the second season basically Magic the Gathering when you combine the two. when you look at them, like the game is so complicated. The first game that they play in the second season, it's like, now this is serious genius, because if you can get this, then you'll be able to really move on.
Is the rules explanation in the first game of the second season as good? Like, are you able to understand it right from the beginning? Because the rules explanations, I think, are great.
The rules explanations continue to be great. The second game is pretty complex, that you would need a chart next to you while you're watching it to fully understand it. Because I don't want to spoil too much, but the game involves everyone having a different win condition.
Oh, that's crazy.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. And it is a little bit hard to follow sometimes, only because it is in Korean. So a lot of times they don't translate the rules, right? So if you can follow along,
there are subtitles.
Yeah, there's always one guy, like the mysterious man, who like explains all the rules. And if you can, that's pretty much for an English speaking viewer, all you have to go by, because they subtitle that. But then for the Korean viewers, they do really nice graphics that really spell everything out and explain it, so it's better explained for the Korean audience. But it is just a really, like, because these games have varying levels of complexity, so sometimes you're like, oh, that game's super simple, but because these guys are all very smart gamer type people, or they're really very skilled social people, which is a very interesting aspect of the game, that the social people can have a different approach to these games, right? So they change a simple game into something that is so complex because of how they're trying to manipulate it so that they get as far as possible, right? And also, with each of these games, there's the potential to earn more garnets to increase the pool to be won at the end. So there's like this real balance of like, do I spend my garnets to get an advantage, or do we play to get more garnets so that I'll win more money if I win the whole thing? And there's a lot of like little things like that completely change the game. Like someone might just be like, no, we should get as many garnets as possible, so that and then you play the game completely differently if that's the way.
Yeah, if you want to beat the system, like for example, if one person's a blackjack player, they'll have understanding of how to win a game by trying to beat the house, like work together to beat the house. And then other people will just be like, yeah, but I just want to beat you. So you can beat the house, and then if you tell me your strategy, I'll know how to come out on top. Things like that. The show is great. Give it a chance. It's all available on YouTube. We ask that you watch one episode, and if you're not hooked, you can let it go. But it is absolutely worth watching the first episode. Now let's go over to the NES Classic Console and have a little talk about Nintendo. So the NES Classic Console, also known as the NES Mini on Twitter, hashtag NES Mini. This is a new plug-and-play made by Nintendo, which is a company that's been making video games for a while now.
Oh, yes.
Have you heard of Nintendo? They're on the rise. They're upstarts, a couple of upstarts. So the NES Classic Console has 30 retro games built into it. A lot of people wanted this thing, and only a select few could get them. Luckily, we were one of those groups of people that were able to land a copy of the NES Classic.
You know, that wasn't luck. Like, you got up really early and got in line, and that's what you had to do. Right?
You know, some people said that they are just mad that there are people with so much extra time on their hands that they're able to go and get an NES Classic Console. And to those people, I say, because I just did a Raspberry. I did. I just think that it's something I really wanted, and I decided to work for it, and I got it. So
yeah,
all the power
I don't understand that criticism. What's that criticism? The criticism is that they didn't have enough time to go get something, and so people with the time to go and get it shouldn't have it. It seems silly to me. It seems that's a nonsense criticism.
It wasn't at no cost to Myles. Like, he took a day off work, right?
Yeah,
like,
I had to. That's one less
vacation day. Like, maybe that's not how you want to spend your vacation day. So But I mean, Myles chose to.
And then I went for a nice big breakfast afterwards. I had a really good time. I actually met a video game podcaster who was in line next to me. He does a video game podcast called Game and Watch It. It is available, I think, on SoundCloud or one of those things. Just Google it. But it was cool because you meet friends in line. Everybody shares an interest of video games. And this thing was worth it. Let me tell you, we plugged this thing in, and from the display options to the selection of games to the sound to the responsiveness of the controller, all of these things were amazing.
So, Myles, let me ask you, if you had to explain this, what is this thing? What is it to someone who never played Nintendo games? Why should they care?
Okay, wait. Have they played video games at all?
Yeah, they mostly play mobile phone games.
That's it. They've only ever played mobile phone games.
Yeah, like
so this is
Candy
like
Crush.
an alien. Okay, this is somebody only ever played Candy Crush their entire life. Why should they be interested in the NES?
This is an ailing 75-year-old lady who only plays Candy
Why
Crush.
does she have to be ailing?
Wait a second.
She's
In this alien race,
not alien. Ailing.
No, she's
ailing. Oh, she's
She
ailing.
doesn't
I
have
thought
to
she
be
was.
ailing. You know what?
She's an
not
alien.
ailing.
No.
And 75 is actually young for this type of alien, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a young 75.
Young
Oh,
75
boy.
for this alien. So I would say, listen. First of all, can you speak?
Oh, my
Earthling?
gosh.
Can you speak?
You've figured out most of her language, but you could insult her.
Oh, okay.
while
So
you're
I have
talking
to.
to
I
her.
have to be very careful. Do I have a
You
don't know
babblefish,
what
or
you
does
have to be
she have
careful about.
the babblefish? So that we
No. You figured out some of the words. So
Oh, just some of the words. Okay. Well,
Oh boy.
in that scenario, I would first say, "Welcome to Earth," because
hello.
okay,
Am I-
yeah, you're the alien lady. I'm the guy
Oh, boy.
explaining the
Okay,
NES
hello.
Hello, welcome to Earth. We are a planet of video games, so we have many of such. There is a new product from Nintendo, one of the lords of video games on this planet. It is called the NES Classic Console.
Oh, that's nice. I would like to meet your lord.
So the NES Classic Console has 30 old games on it. Now I know what you're saying. You want to play Candy Crush. You want to play the new games, right? These games are not going to be on your mobile. It's going to be a box that you plug into your TV or computer monitor. Does that suit you? Is that okay? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Tell me some more.
So, I would say that these are the foundations of gaming. They inspired, your Candy Crush was inspired. I'm sure if Dr. Mario didn't exist, which is on here, you wouldn't get to play your Candy Crush.
That's probably true.
I think you're really breaking through here.
I know, I'm getting through to this alien lady.
great.
This is amazing.
Oh, but wait. She's gone away. She's gone. I think she may have gotten one of the last Nintendo consoles.
Oh no.
Oh, people are pretty upset that she was able to get one. And
Just
these
waltzed
people,
right into a Shoppers Drug Mart.
right into Earth to pick
To the Shoppers Drug Mart. It's the only place you can buy
Well,
a Nintendo console these days.
Okay, alien lady aside, I think
Yeah.
the NES console, like the classic console, appeals to a lot of people. Like my sister, my oldest sister, she doesn't really play that many video games now, and we never had a Nintendo growing up, but we had a Commodore 64 and there's some overlap in games, and as soon as I played them, like my sister will love like so many of these games. At Christmas time I'm going to bring it over, and she's like super excited. She was really really good at games, but family kids, she doesn't really play them anymore, but I think it's going to be great at Christmas. My mom is even really good at like puzzle games and stuff like that. She played a lot of Dr. Mario, so she'll probably enjoy that.
I mean, when I was a wee lad and we got our first Nintendo, both my mom and I would play Super Mario Brothers and Tetris nonstop.
Yeah, Tetris is so annoying that it's not on this box. Why isn't
it's
it there?
it's the most glaring omission of the entire 30 games. I mean, they have Dr. Mario, so some people might say that that's the reason why they didn't put in Tetris. But I mean, you got Castlevania and you got Castlevania 2. Why you got Castlevania 2 when it
I
comes
don't
to
know
Tetris?
that both Castlevanias were necessary over
Especially
Tetris.
2. 2 is the worst Castlevania.
I've not played any. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it's
take
like,
your word for it.
It's like RPG elements in a Castlevania game. It's kind of weird. It's not really my cup of tea. But that's a good thing. Like, if all 30 of these games were my personal favorite 30 Nintendo games, they would have done something wrong. Because people have different interests. People have different Nintendo games that they love. For instance, Tecmo Bowl is on here, a game I don't like. But I know a lot of people really do like Tecmo Bowl. So it makes sense that it's on here.
Is it great?
Bo Jackson is fantastic.
I heard
And
Bo
he's
Jackson.
on the Raiders.
I heard that Bo Jackson is unbeatable in Tecmo Bowl. Like, he runs faster than everybody, catches every pass.
Is there like a Tecmo baseball game too, or is it just...
No, that would have been like Baseball Stars or something. Bases Loaded.
Yeah.
It'd be Bases Loaded.
Yeah, Bases Loaded.
Is there a
Robo
baseball game on it? Or
No. No baseball game, no
I'm just
basketball
curious.
game.
I was basically just curious to know whether or not Bo Jackson was in 2 sports games at the exact same time.
And no hockey game, no ice hockey. That was like a Nintendo-made game, ice hockey.
Yeah. Is
kinda weird.
Blades of Steel on it?
Nope. I think this Nintendo Classic console was built for people to maybe bring it to a party. Like, it's small,
Portable.
it's portable, exactly. It's light, so you could bring it to maybe to work and on your lunch break play it on the computer monitor, or you could play it, at a friend's place, and it's like, hey, do you want to have a couple rounds of Metroid here, or do you want to play me in Donkey Kong?
We talk about it being our like travel entertainment. Even, right?
You were
like,
thinking about it.
It's
like
so light, you just throw it in your suitcase, and then if you have any downtime at the hotel or whatever,
and a hotel day,
play.
just decompress with a little bit of Nintendo. And I think that's the route that Nintendo is going. Like, if you saw the trailer for the Switch, I don't know if you saw it, Chris, but
Yeah.
You saw. Okay, they want you to take it to a basketball court and play with your friends during halftime, or
Yeah, like, hey guys, stop the game for a minute. We're gonna play some Nintendo Switch. Guess what I got? A basketball game on the Nintendo Switch.
Really, we just spent all day playing basketball. Do you got another game?
Basketball game. You want to play a basketball game? It's the only thing I've got on the Nintendo Switch.
the Switch looks so good.
The Switch looks great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I got my competitive Splatoon team all ready. They're
ready to go.
We rented the gym. We all got the same matching jumpsuits. It should be a really good time. The new Mario game, even though we only saw it for a couple very short scenes, looks great. It looks like Mario 64, but updated graphics. He's in like a city. It looks beautiful. And then also it looks like we're going to get old Splatoon and old Mario Kart, maybe updated director's cuts or something like that.
But there was that announcement, though, that the Zelda game's not going to be ready for launch.
Oh, no. Yeah, that...
It's really unfortunate because they've delayed that game already. And
It was supposed to come out for the Wii U, right?
Yeah. And apparently it's still going to come out for the Wii U. That was a promise that they made. But
it felt like they delayed it just so that they could have it for the Switch launch.
Yeah.
And then they delayed it again. So it's just really disappointing. I don't... It always looks so almost finished. Like people were doing demos and stuff of it. Like I don't know why it's not ready.
You gotta love Nintendo for acknowledging, this game's not finished. Push it back. We're gonna make sure it is perfect at launch.
I wish more developers would push things back if they're not ready to go.
We're not gonna have a No Man's Sky situation here.
No Man's Sky, I wish they had pushed back, I guess for years, because this game still, we're 6 months out and it's not there yet.
I heard there's a patch coming this week.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear about that?
It's going to be great. Yeah, I read about the patch.
It's called a Foundation patch because they think they're going to finally add a game to their proof of concept that they've sold people for years.
No idea what... the patch said something about it adding the foundations of base building. Like, why would you ever want to build a base in that? I don't understand the people that play that game and go, oh, I just want to stick around this one location and build a base.
Yeah.
I just want to build a base in this nonsense.
Nobody can
planet.
even come and see your base. Anyway,
So stupid.
games like No Man's Sky and other third-party games are going to be available on the Switch, which was a problem with the Wii U, right?
Yeah.
So, they announced Bethesda was going to produce games for the Wii U, and we saw screenshots or video of them playing
the
Nintendo
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
Skyrim was on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And
Fantastic.
Bethesda did come out and say that they aren't confirming any titles for the Nintendo Switch after that trailer came out.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird, but I still think that they're absolutely going to be... It's going to be a lot more supported than the Wii U was.
Right.
But
Another game that they should have held back on, Star Wars Battlefront. Should have held back on it, added in something else to it. Very upsetting.
It had that 2 maps, though. Did you like the maps?
Did you like the 3 maps that you had to play for 6 months?
It's so bizarre, though, like, because Star Wars has a story, right? Like, Star Wars is a story. Like, why wouldn't they have a story mode? Like, people complain about Overwatch because it didn't have a story mode, but once you start playing Overwatch, you're like, oh, it doesn't need a story because it's a really good game. But if Star Wars had Battlefront had that problem, it's so, like, they could just toss in a little story because it's all characters you know and love, and they could build something that's part of canon. Probably, maybe, doesn't even have to be.
Yeah, it seems like that's what people want in a Star Wars game, right? Like, people love those, like, subplots and these, like, B-line, C-line, D-line stories that have to do with it. Like, look at the Rogue One's coming up. People are jazzed. Nobody even knows what it's about. So, like...
We're going to be watching Star Wars movies for the rest of our lives, so we don't necessarily need to get into a long discussion about Star Wars right now, but there's plenty of time in the rest of our lives to talk about Star Wars.
It's true, yeah. And, you know, a lot of people were complaining about the Wii U and saying that it didn't have a lot of third-party support, and that was a problem. That's why the Wii U died. But I think ever since the GameCube, so, like, starting with the Wii, Nintendo has decided to separate themselves from the PlayStation and the Xbox and PC. They want to produce different types of video games than you could find on those systems. Because if they're just redundant and less powerful, they'll become obsolete. So what they wanted to do is something completely different, so that it makes sense for you to own either a PS4 or an Xbox as well as a Wii U or a Switch, because they're different. They provide a different type of entertainment.
Yeah, it's really funny, like, when you talk about, like, at least console exclusives, like, the conversation is always Xbox or PlayStation, Xbox or PlayStation, and we fall strongly on the side of PlayStation, especially when it comes to exclusives, but Nintendo's not even in that conversation because all their games are essentially just exclusives, and they're really good exclusive titles. Like, you cannot play a Mario game anywhere else. You can't play a Zelda game anywhere else, right? So, It doesn't have to be it's never part of this conversation of which side do I fall on, because it's just not part of it. It's its own little thing, and it does it so well. It's established itself over 30 years, so...
I've heard some arguments of people saying, like, you know what, at this point, I would just rather see Nintendo be a software developer and make their games compatible with the PS4 and the Xbox, because those controllers are better, and I'd rather play those games on more powerful systems. But honestly, Nintendo is so innovative, and just because the Wii U didn't work doesn't mean the other things they're doing aren't working. Like, look how popular the Wii was, and it was so different from the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Look how they're innovating with the NES Classic console even. No other major companies producing plug-and-plays. One of the major players at Xbox or whatever criticized Nintendo for short baking the NES Classic console. They said, you know, you should have realized the demand for this thing. Why did you short supply all of these people who wanted it? And you know what? I don't see an Xbox plug and play, an Xbox Classic available for people. Instead, you just make it backwards compatible, so people still need to buy the games on your virtual store. Like, I would love Xbox Classic console. I'd buy that for 30 games. You get the Halo, you get Fusion Frenzy, and those are the only 2 exclusives Xbox ever had. So
they had Fable. They had Fable. Don't discount Fable. A few things there. I don't know why you would want one of the major players in the game to get out of it and decrease the competition, so that now Sony controls how we get and see Nintendo games, or Microsoft controls and sees how we get Nintendo games. I think that's nonsense. Nintendo becoming a software developer, they're a great software developer. Just because you don't want to buy their console, Nintendo's a fantastic software developer still. They do software better than almost anyone else who's doing better software than Nintendo consistently.
And their consoles are not so bad that if you wanted to play those games, it's like, well, I want to play those games with the console so bad I'm not going to do it. They're not that bad. Like, we like them, but also if you really want to play that game, then the consoles are also way cheaper, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to, like, they're accessible to you. The other thing is, like you were talking about Nintendo innovation and stuff like that, and if the Switch is as good as we hope it will be and as successful as we want it to be, absolutely, like, at least Microsoft is going to try to emulate some of it. Like, they're going to be like, well, maybe we should also have, like, a tablet controller that's portable or something. Because why does the Kinect exist? The Kinect and the PlayStation Move only exist because the Wii was popular, right?
Yeah, and they were like, we messed up. We have to create something that can play the Wii games or Wii-style games, because that's what people want.
So they can criticize all they want, but when these things are successful, they follow suit. They're not the ones, they didn't make the Kinect first, and Nintendo didn't have to react. They had to react to Nintendo. So they can pretend like, oh, well, we know the market better than you do and whatever, but you don't know how to innovate as well as they do. That's what I think.
Do you know what I love about this? Because both Xbox, or sorry, PlayStation has put so much into, I mean, I love PlayStation, but they put so much into VR. Like, that was the future of gaming or whatever. And I even heard rumors that Xbox was looking into it, or that they were going to maybe create something to compete with that. But what are people lining up at stores to buy right now? It's the NES Classic console, something that existed, 30 years ago.
That cost them nothing to make, even, right? And all the games already existed, right? We're just like, we'll just rely on what we've been doing and what we, like, this library of stuff that we have.
Nintendo's like, oh yeah, VR, we tried that with Virtual Boy. It's a no-go. What we have years and years of experience. This is what people want. People are really into the retro game market right now. We're going to create a high-quality plug-and-play, best quality one of those things that has ever existed. And you know what, that all that's going to be is a precursor to our actual console. Like, we created a product that is in such high demand, people are lining up weeks later, first thing in the morning at EB Games for. Right? People are still lined up outside
waiting
of these
for the
stores.
truck. They're not even lining up for the store to open. They're lining up and waiting for the truck to arrive. Like,
and this isn't even the big thing that Nintendo's making. That's just something that they threw out there. Like Pokemon Go. They just threw that out there. Let's see if this works. Like, that type of innovation and those chances that they're taking are going to pay off. Like, they're not 100% of the time going to work out for them, like the Wii U. But if they keep innovating...
You'd still rather see them innovate in the space.
Yes.
Right? We don't want to keep playing Call of Duty forever. Right? Like, there's some people who do like that, but...
I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who want to play Call of Duty forever.
I'm just saying that the entire industry cannot survive just making Call of Duties. We need innovation in the marketplace.
Well, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? Is that you have to have the Call of Duty every year, or else your company's no longer viable as a gaming company, because it's not putting out anything else. It's not using the money to innovate in any way. It's just, I guess, paying out the shareholders. I'm not entirely sure what else they're making besides the reiteration of the sports game or this year's iteration of Call of Duty. And they're making tons of money, but I think they're digging themselves a hole year after year.
You need to be doing something on the side with that money, because your golden goose is eventually going to run out of eggs. If you support some indie creators, you support new ideas, even just in-house, like, downloadable only games, which there are a lot of, and they're great. But you gotta go even further than that. You gotta take chances, because somebody else is going to take chances if you don't, and those chances are going to work out. It's going to be Nintendo taking chances, and they're going to change the way the industry works.
But speaking of supporting indie developers, I pre-ordered No Man's Sky, and those guys can jump out a window. As far as I'm concerned.
Hey!
They have I'm never pre-ordering anything ever again in my entire life. Those guys, that completely ruined the whole thing for me. I'm never going to pre-order a thing until I get a review from a person I trust.
Right.
Yeah, so wait till the games come out, but when they do come out, and
support them
but if they're good games, and there's something, which is why I like Steam so much, right? You can try a game for a little bit, and then you can return it if you don't like it, or you can finish it and play it and support the creator.
Like in every other realm of your life, if you don't like the clothes, you can return the clothes. If you don't like the shoe, you can return the shoe. Everyone got so worried about pirating that you could just go into a store, grab a game, pirate the game, then bring it back, and they weren't going to make any money. But I don't know why, in an age of electronic downloads, that it took so long to get a refund policy going.
It took a really long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's where we see the video game industry and Nintendo as a whole right now. But we got some pickups. Chris, you grabbed some gaming-related items, right? Not for Black Friday, but outside of Black Friday.
Yeah, outside of Black Friday, I picked up a new game from Fantasy Flight called Star Wars Destiny. It is a new lifestyle game from them. Lifestyle being you have to buy a starter set, then buy blind boosters and do all of that stuff.
And then you have a portion of your paycheck every week that goes directly to that thing.
You have to feed the beast. The lifestyle game is a game that is a beast that goes, feed me.
And you wanted to get into a new one of those.
I always take a look at the new ones that come out and say, like, maybe this one will scratch the same itch as Magic, but they never end up doing that. This one, though, there is a Kylo Ren starter and a Rey starter. I bought the Kylo Ren starter, but it had Rey dice in it. It's also a dice game. It's a dice/card game. I haven't played it, so I can't tell you what it's about.
I like the sound of it, though. Like, I like it sounds like thematically and, like, you know, with the mechanics and stuff. It sounds like it has a lot going for it.
It's supposed to be like two Jedi fight each other, and you amass stuff that you give them, and it gives them more dice to roll, and the dice is kind of what generates the resources that let you do everything.
Well, we'll definitely, once you get the proper dice so that we can play, we should totally try it out and talk about it in a future episode.
You know, I did like some of the other dice games that exist like that. Like there was the Marvel Superheroes one. Do you remember what it was called?
Marvel Dice Masters?
Dice Masters. There's Dice Masters that was really good. And I also liked, what was it called?
Quarriors?
Quarriors? Have you ever played?
Quarriors was the game that Marvel's Dice Masters is based on, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
okay.
But it wasn't
Quarriors
a lifestyle
wasn't like
game.
a blind buy.
No, it was just like a board game. And the mechanics I really liked. Like, I like the idea of dice with not just numbers on the sides, and instead pictures, maybe some pictures are duplicated to increase the odds of rolling certain things or decrease the odds of rolling other things. And I like that. I think that the mechanics are there for a really good game.
We also picked up the Jackbox Party Box 3. So
of course
at some point, we'll have enough people in the house to play that. But
that is one of my favorite games of all time.
They're great.
Talk about innovation, right?
Yeah.
Being able to play a game for the PS4 that you're not using controllers for, everyone's using their phones instead. And then you can have basically an unlimited number of players. Anybody in the room can play. Anybody that has a phone can join in and get on these party games. Seems like a really good one. I really enjoyed the other two.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Well, what did you pick up, Myles?
For Black Friday, the biggest deal that we really wanted to get in on was the Limited Run Games Black Friday sale. So they had Limited Run Games produces hard copies of digital only games. And they do like one a month, and they produce, like the name, Limited Run, just 3,000 copies of it on PlayStation 4, and I think maybe 1,500 on Vita. And that's it. So a lot of these games, like Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey Remastered, if you want a hard copy of that, they worked with the developers of that game. The only way to get a hard copy is through Limited Run. or if you want to play Octodad, if you want a hard copy of that. And they actually had a really cool one with Octodad. They had a bigger like package, like the Ultimate Edition, that came with his tie.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cute.
That's awesome.
But the Black Friday sale was a bunch of the games that they had in stock still that they hadn't released with their initial, because they sell out every time.
Right.
That they didn't
Like overrun, basically.
Yeah, overrun some games, and we really wanted to get the Lost at Sea as well as the Shantae games. Shantae is kind of like a run and gun game, so we wanted those. We weren't able to get them because like all the games were sold out in a minute on Black Friday. But I ended up getting 3 blind box games, which are games that they only had a couple copies of, and they didn't want to list them because...
And they may have thrown in Lost at Sea or Lost Sea or Shantae in there, so we might still get them.
Yeah.
But the only thing we're worried about are doubles, so hopefully we don't get 3 of the same game
thing, yeah.
or 2 of the same thing.
If we get 2 of the same thing, though, you're going to help us out, right, Chris?
Hey, I'd love to sell one of those.
Yeah, because the resellers market's insane for these games.
Yeah.
I saw Thomas Was Alone. I saw for like $150. Breach and Clear, something similar to that. It's been insane, the resellers market.
But that's about, like, I mean, we bought a couple other games for PlayStation.
Doom.
And you got me
Doom.
You really like that, right?
I do like Doom. Doom's probably one of the best games of 2016, I think. So
maybe I should
put on your 30 game list.
Maybe I should try that one out for the 30 game list. Is it hard?
It gets hard.
I don't like the sounds of this.
You also have to challenge yourself, Myles.
You're going to have to check in with us next month. I'll let you know how that challenge is going, as well as we're going to have a new main topic. A lot of things are going to happen over the month. But that's it. So for Chris and Kathryn, I'm Myles. Thank you all for listening, and take care, everybody. Bye.